Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Superman and Lois Season 2 review series. And today I'm going to be talking about episode 13, All Is Lost, which I have just finished watching. And this episode, just like the show, once again, absolutely delivered, and it was fantastic. And like I've said in previous reviews, this show not only continues to keep getting better and better, but the level of epicness continues to just keep getting higher and higher. I don't think I've ever seen a DC show in quite a while that has had so much consistency and so much freshness to their storytelling, quite like Superman and Lois. The only other show that I can think of that's had as much consistency and epicness, quite like Superman and Lois, is of course Stargirl, which, by the way, for those of you who haven't seen Stargirl, highly recommend you check it out. It's equally as good as Superman and Lois. So, as always, I'm going to give a quick recap of what's happened so far, and then we're going to get straight into talking about episode 13, which, by the way, as I mentioned, absolutely fantastic. So, as we've seen so far, Clark has revealed his Superman secret identity to Lana, and this has kind of put an upset on their friendship, but Lana is pointing more of her anger towards Lois and accusing her of basing their entire friendship on a lie. And she pretty much tells Lois and Clark that I will keep Clark's secret, but I think it's best that we're not in each other's lives because I don't want to be the one to lie to my family every single day. And also, in this episode, Superman got Tal-Rho to help him destroy Ali's pendant, which resulted in the pendant being destroyed, but at a heavy price. And we also saw Ali go back to the inverse world and basically drain all of Tal-Rho's power. And she's now become kind of like Parasite, although she's not really like a big giant purple monster like the Rudy Jones Parasite was in the Superman comics and cartoons. She's more or less has the power of a god, and of course she's on a mission to try and merge both Earth and Bizarro world into one. So she's more or less, as we've seen in a couple of episodes back, she's more or less just merged with her Bizarro self, and that's her plan, and she plans to merge everyone with their Bizarro self. So obviously the stakes are very high, and obviously this sets up for the next few episodes for some real epicness. And Tal-Rho has more or less, how should I put it, I wouldn't say he's redeemed himself, but he's kind of become like a semi-anti-hero, so he's more or less got Superman's back, for the time being anyway. And we saw at the end of episode 12, we saw Ali has, as I mentioned, killed off her Tal-Rho, has his powers, and now she's essentially can drain anyone's powers and strengths, including Superman's. So that's more or less what's happened so far. So with that all said, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about episode 13, All Is Lost. So this episode starts with a series of flashbacks set 5 years in the past, where we see Lucy Lane and Ali Anderson first meet. Now, over the course of season 2, we've seen Lois Lane's sister get caught up in Ali's, how should I put it, cult-like preaching about merging with her other self on the other side, which we learn to be the inverse world. And Lucy, of course, has been very defiant and rebelling against Lois and her dad, Sam Lane, not realizing that Ali is actually truly dangerous. So all of this has been building up for quite some time. Every time it looks like Lucy is going to walk away from Ali, she somehow finds her way back into her weird, twisted way of thinking. So that side of things has been quite interesting. And also in this episode, John Henry Irons' daughter Natalie has now made her own suit, which of course doesn't go down with John Henry, which is understandable due to what's happened on their Earth. And also in this episode, we see Superman is intent on returning to the inverted world, but Lois convinces him to remain in Smallville, given about what happened the last time he was away, which was for a month. And also, as I mentioned, that Natalie has now made her own steel armor suit, and of course, John Henry wants her to destroy the suit. And we see Ali announces to her followers in the inverted world that she intends to merge both universes, much to the delight of her world, while the inverted version of Lois looks on, looking deeply concerned. And also, we see Lois and Sam Lane decide to make one last overture to Lucy, driving out an inverse method facility on the outskirts of town, and they find Ali's followers defiantly dedicated to Ali's success, learning that Lana Cushion has decided to cut all ties with the Kent family for the foreseeable future. Jordan reaches out to her that can he still see Sarah, but Lana firmly turns him away and says, "No, you're not going to be putting my daughter in any danger, and if you truly love her, you'll stay away." And we see Clark consoles his son by teaching him how to fly and takes him up to the fortress, which I thought was a really fun scene. Seeing Jordan flying around in the Arctic, I thought that was a really fun scene and kind of reminded me of little bit of Smallville and a little bit of the first Superman movie. I thought that was a really nice scene, nice fun scene as well. So I quite enjoyed that a lot. I actually had a big smile on my face. We then see Ali demands that Lois summon Superman so she can drain him more of his powers for herself, and she goes on to attack Sam while Lois refuses to comply. Meanwhile, we see the horrified inverse method followers flee after witnessing Ali's true nature, and Lucy summons Superman to the scene in order to stop Ali from hurting her dad. And as Ali grievously injures Superman by draining all of his life force, we see John and Natalie Irons debuting her steel armor, managing to drive Ali away, with Natalie using her armor's capabilities to kickstart Superman's stalled heart after having all of his powers completely drained. Wow, this was epic stuff. We also see, retreating back to the military hospital, Sam regains consciousness with a tearful Lucy by his side, while we see Superman has gone into critical condition and into a coma due to being exposed to Ali's attack. Lois's co-worker Chrissy, who accompanied Sam and Lois to meet with the inverse method and has observed the entire proceeding from a safe distance, begins to learn about Clark's secret. Lois and John learn that Superman is expected to survive his encounter with Ali, but the state of his body indicates that he may have permanently lost his powers due to the power drain. Now, if they are pushing Ali to be the new Parasite, now anybody who knows the Parasite's drain is only temporary, so there was a possibility that Superman could get his powers here. We may actually see that in this episode. We also see Lana is still shaken up by the whirlwind of events after learning that, Superman is actually Clark Kent. And we see her have a reunion with Kyle, although just as friends for the sake of the daughters. And it looks like they possibly could get back together. And then we see at the end of the episode, we see Ali goes into outer space in full God mode and begins to slowly merge both worlds while we see Superman remains incapacitated, and John Henry Irons tells everybody that with Superman out of action, it's up to everybody to step up if they have any chance of defeating Ali. And that's how we end episode 13. Like I said, overall, fantastic episode. Really enjoying this a lot. Although I am a little bit bummed out, I'm not going to lie. I was really hoping we was going to see more of Bizarro because I really enjoyed the show's take on Bizarro. I thought it was very interesting, very different, and quite cool, really. But it is what it is. But I'm enjoying this so far, and the idea of two worlds combining into one is quite scary. So I'm just wondering how this is all going to play out. But so far, so good. Absolutely enjoying this a lot. Only takeaway I would probably say from this episode is the whole Lana family drama thing. Didn't bother me that much, but I could probably do without it because we're kind of dealing with the aftermath, and I feel like they could be dragging it on a little bit. But aside from all of that, this doesn't take away from the fact that this episode was still top-notch stuff, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next. So that's going to be it for me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on episode 13? Did you enjoy it? How do you think this whole Ali merging Earth and the inverted world into one? Do you think she could be able to do it? And also, do you think Superman will get his powers back, or do you think he'll go into a permanent coma? And also, how do you think Jordan and Jonathan and Natalie and John Henry Irons are going to step up? What do you think is going to happen there? And also, what do you think is going to happen with Sarah? Do you think it's possible that she could actually learn the truth about Jordan's powers? Or do you think that she'll never know the truth about him? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Superman and Lois Season 2 review series, where I am going to be talking about episode 14, which I am very much looking forward to talking about, especially with the way this episode played out and the way it ended. Should be a good one, and I'm super pumped, no pun intended. So until next time, take care everybody and stay safe, and once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.